Invited three very important people to come to us today and speak about the Green New Deal. One of them is certainly my favorite, Professor Ransford from Nova Southeastern University. He's an excellent scholar who talks about many different things. We did some excellent dissertation on some of the aspects that may be relating to this issues that Green Deal talks about, and he's very much involved in this, in the ideas around it. So I invited him. He was kind enough to come to speak about what the Green New Deal is and what the Green New Deal is not. Then I also contacted my friends in the Green Party, because very few people know that the Green New Deal actually was originated by the Green Party. That was the first, that was their initiative, and now this initiative is picked up by some elements of the Democratic Party. However, what we hear in the news or in the media, we hear that there's some, some element of some hesitation on the part of the Green, or the part of the Democratic Party to embrace these ideas of Green New Deal and ideas behind the whole policies regarding environmental issues. And surprisingly, nowadays, we see that in our state, at least, the initiative when it comes to environmental policies, sound environmental policies, are being taken by our current governor, who is a Republican governor. He is the one who's talking about this issue that we had last year, issues with the green algae bloom and the quality of water and all that stuff. So, for that reason, today we are organizing this event to clarify what the Green Deal is and what the Green Deal is not. And in that way, we're not trying, as far as we are concerned, our college is not trying to be partisan, but we're trying to serve the public, because we are, after all, community, still a community college, so we are to serve the public in terms of providing you with information as accurately as we can, so that you can formulate your own opinion. So now, without further delay, I will invite our panelists to come and take their seats. So the idea is they will present us with a few points, and then after that, we'll start the discussion. We can kind of engage them with questions, and they can also talk to each other, and we'll be witnessing that.
The bullet train from New York to DC. It always brings me back to when I first started making this commute. In 2019, I was a freshman in the most diverse Congress in history. Up to that point, it was a critical time. I'll never forget the children in our community. They were so inspired to see this new class of politicians who reflected that.
So this is how the Green Deal is popularized, but we can now start the discussion. Professor Ransford will take over.
All right. See, that was problematic because I told us everything. So I think we need this all go home. Well, first I want to say thank you to Dr. Driscoll for inviting me. Longtime friends, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Also all the facilitators and everyone that's here. This room should be packed. So if you want to just shout at people outside, tell them to come inside. Just grab people, tell them I'm coming inside, because this is and I think this is probably the most fundamental issue we're going to have going forward as a society, is the notion of climate change. And it's interesting, the documentary, because it was, I think, Neil Klein was a part of it. And she was an inspiration for much more work now in disaster capitalism. She wrote a book called The Shock Doctrine in 2008, speaking about disaster capitalism. Disaster, conceptualized as, it could be anything. It could be wars, a coup d'etat, financial crisis, or like natural disasters. And when you have a disaster occur, you tend to have a window of opportunity. So a disaster happens, people start looking at their basic needs. You're not really surveilling government, right? It's all about food, shelter, clothing. And in that brief window of discord and confusion, you have particular interests that are mobilized to take advantage of that particular issue. And normally it's the people with money, right? So like in Puerto Rico, it's a massive privatization in the Virgin Islands, and in Singapore, in India, names of disaster, Houston. You had people being displaced, and as they fled from the shoreline to the inland, you had the multinational corporations coming and buying all the shoreline property and privatize beaches. So this is a real thing in terms of our environment. So I think we have to look at it as an amalgamation, and I think this is what the Green New Deal did. I think every year the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they need to discuss climate change. And what they kind of told us is, look, we're fucked. Right? That's it. That's fundamentally what happened. They said, listen, and to some degree, there's no going back. We've already passed that critical threshold of society where we're going to have, we have to, whether it's, 99% of coral reefs dying, the migration of peoples, we see what's happening in Myanmar with the Rohingya. And a lot of that is also environmentalism, right? We have the certification. In Miami, we have the daylight floods. So this is something that we see in our backyard. And it's problematic. It's a crisis, right? And a crisis allows for opportunity. And I think what the Green New Deal does is link that crisis of climate change with another crisis. And the other crisis is the crisis of the working class in the United States. The crisis of stagnating wages, right? The crisis of temporary jobs, right? This notion of new contract-based jobs that focus on your individual freedom while you ride around your car for Uber or Lyft, right? So it's a crisis of you have the American worker now can no longer sustain herself or himself with one wage, 2 wages, 3 wages, and these temporary jobs, right? You have the deindustrialization in the Northeast. So you have a crisis of the American working class, and you have the crisis of the environment, and now you wed them and you create something which says, look, we can tackle this. We have to tackle it by rethinking the entire economic structure. To a certain degree, the Green New Deal is revolutionary, and it should be, right? Because that's the crisis, right? If we think about it, we had the financial crisis, 2007, 2008, where the benevolent bankers ran off with much of your economic power. But, the estimates range from 500 billion to 5 trillion, which the government spent to get us out of that crisis. Right? Listen, those private jets were running hot. Right? Going back and forth to DC and wherever else to harness your money, your tax dollars, to sustain, right, our banking system. That was a crisis, and the government said to themselves, right, let's deal with that existential crisis now. With climate change, it's a crisis also. But I think it's difficult for us to see it as an existential crisis that we need to deal with right now. So what the Green New Deal does is say, look, it's something that we have to deal with right now, and not to mince words, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be costly. And it's okay, because we have to all survive. We have to live. And there's no price that can be put on that, right? If your house is on the roof, you have no roofs, right? So it's going to be expensive. But what it does, it creates this economic transformation. 0 carbon emissions, right? 0. But it's not 1%, 2, it's 0. That is radical. And it's okay to be radical. Right? I think society redistricting. Society only moves through radical changes. Right? We can drift slowly along. But we need radical change. The New Deal was a radical change. It made us rethink how we move work with government vis-a-vis the private sector. So jumping on that, right, we have to rethink how we're going to live in this new world of, climate change. And it starts with, how we build buildings. Retrofitting old buildings and then new construction also has to be, carbon neutral or zero emissions. It's agriculture. It's the entire economic structure. And here's the thing, the economic structure has changed over time. It's okay, it happens. 100 years ago, the United States was mainly an agrarian society, agriculture. Societal shift happened, industrial revolution, factories. People flocked to major cities and worked in factories. The economic change from agriculture based on now industry manufacturing. And then what happened after that is we had deindustrialization, another shift. We moved from manufacturing, shifted from manufacturing to a service-based economy. Right? Most jobs are service. We think of service, we often think it's, waiters. Doctors, lawyers, professors, we're in the service sector. Most of you are in the service sector. So, economy changes, society changes, modes of production changes. So we shouldn't fear this change. But now I think the part of it is that when we do have this change, the winners and losers. And the losers often are the people that lose, right? The deindustrialization in the Northeast, the factory workers, right? They're out of jobs, right? When that benevolent corporation decided that Chinese laborers are more efficient, cheaper than American labor, you're out of your ass. You don't have a job. So what happens is, the best way to change society and how we learned in the New Deal was through education, funded at community colleges. You get to retrain the population to capture the higher value-added jobs that are now being produced as the economy shifts from manufacturing to service. So it's the exact same thing. So if we do go to a carbon neutral society, if we do, move away from coal, we need to train coal miners to get new jobs. So we have to invest in the infrastructure, primarily education, to support the growth of that sector. So there's a transition from one job, right, to another job. So that's massive spending, that's massive government spending. And that's important because that's what the New Deal issued, was spurring demand through the government intervening and creating demand. Because private sector fails. Private sector can't create demand. Right? So government stepped in. So it's the exact same thing here when the government has to step in to allow this government to shift. Because we're waiting on Exxon to do it. Right? Based on their market-based strategies, good luck. That's how we got here. So we can't go that road anymore. So what it does, it really starts a conversation. Not a bill, it's not law, it's a resolution. Listen, it's 14 pages. And it's, as a professor, the margins aren't 1 inch. Like 2-3 inch margins, and the font is not 12 fonts, maybe 14. So generously, it's like 6-7 pages. But it starts a conversation. And I think it did a very good job because, we're here right now talking about it. In DC, in Congress, hundreds of bills or resolutions that get passed every day. People don't get on a panel to talk about them. So if it's just that alone, this has been fundamental, monumental in getting that conversation started. It's a conversation that we hope to continue to get with my panelists and everyone that's here. And then we're going to grab them outside, drag them in here to have this conversation. But that's my long moment in preamble.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cynthia Bush. I'm the chair of the Broward Democratic Party. And I come here today probably not as someone who's well versed in all of the details of the possibilities of what the Green New Deal might look like on a legislative basis, at an individual city or state or national level. But I do have a lot of experience over the last 14 to 15 years of being an activist in Broward County and serving on boards here at the county level and hearing presentations of our environmentalist, Jennifer Verrado, who works for the county, who is an incredible asset here in Broward, who has been arguing for, valiantly arguing for radical investment in major infrastructure changes in South Florida in order to stave off what we know is coming, what we already see in the daylight of Hollywood some days when the water comes up, or in Fort Lauderdale or in Miami, that we are facing a crisis here in Broward that is literally 20 years or 30 years away. And last 3 years I served on the Charter Review Commission, where we took up this issue a lot. We talked about it a lot. She came and did presentations. We tried to see whether we could address this in the charter of Broward County, and what things we could do as a Charter Review Commission to help our local government deal with this issue. And what became apparent was that we have fundamental governmental structural problems in the state of Florida that will require new elected officials and much braver leaders who are willing to take up this issue in Tallahassee, congressional people who are willing to fight harder at the national level, and honestly a change in the White House. Because just to get a dredging project done in Florida, at Port Everglades, literally was a 20-year effort. With our congressional people working with the Army Corps of Engineers for 20 years to get that dredging project done, and it's only just now getting started, and the creation of an expanded port and all of the infrastructure that has to go in there to service the cruise industry. Yes, we are a service economy, and that is super important. And we're not going to be a very good service economy or a hospitality economy if we're underwater, right? And her presentation around some of these issues was frightening because essentially we don't have any kind of leadership coming from the White House anymore that can bring to bear, right, the governmental agencies that will be required to get involved to fix this problem here in Florida. We need a wall built up and down the intercoastal, 3 or 4 or 5 feet high from Miami all the way up the coast.
Build the wall.
It's a build wall, yes, but it's a wall that's going to keep us from being underwater. We need a comprehensive strategy to have the Everglades, the water that flows through the Everglades, and it needs to come through Broward County and through Miami-Dade to recharge our freshwater aquifer so that we can create the pressure that we need to keep the water from the sea pushing in. We need an entirely new infrastructure in downtown Fort Lauderdale and all of those coastal communities with new pumps that essentially, when we get inundated with rain and when we get inundated with a hurricane, that we have a much more robust pumping system that can pump the water back out. I'm sure if some of you were paying attention to the primary last year, Phil Levine talked about this in detail in Miami Beach and a lot of the work that has been going on down there. And Dan Delbert, who's the mayor now, continuing, I think, to try to fight for that. But it is imperative, I think, ultimately, that we put pressure on our elected officials. And I say this, we have to put pressure on our Democratic elected officials in the state of Florida first. I was reviewing a list last night of the people who have signed on to this, and there's lots of people in California, and lots of people in New York, and lots of people in a lot of little states, and there's only 2 in the state of Florida. Our Congressman Alcee Hastings here, I think, deserves credit for putting his name on here. Our new Congresswoman Debbie Powell in Miami-Dade. But I know that Congressman Ted Deutsch and Congressman Devin Russell and Congressman Lois Frankel understand this issue because they were the ones who brought that dredging project to the port, so they know what needs to be done. The question is, how do we get them to sign on? Because we do need to develop a movement in the state of Florida, right, that engages people in understanding what functionally the issues are. So, as a the chair of the Democratic Party, my role really is probably not to weigh in individually on any one of these issues. I think obviously we need to set goals, right? And we need to try to move towards them. And we need to try to have elected officials who want to embrace goals. And if we don't get there, we don't get there. But if we don't start, we're never going to get there. And ultimately, by forcing other elected officials to pay attention, we may be able to, next year, maybe make a change in the White House. 4 years down the road, have a governor in Tallahassee, maybe, who could begin to put pressure on the legislature to stop trying to undermine what local communities are trying to do. And we've seen that many times. We try to pass an ordinance, and they go up in Tallahassee, and they pass a law saying, yeah, we're not going to let you pass that ordinance, right? You know, figure it out down there in Broward County on your own. Good luck. So this will require a sustained effort to engage people in getting involved in the political world and joining boards and going to the city commission and standing in front of that city commission and ask, what are you doing? What can you do, right, to start this process? What local ordinances can we put in place, right, around sustainable, right, new types of buildings, right? Some of this can be done locally, but I think for me, I think that's such an important part of what this is about. It's about communities kind of getting together and developing the strategy for themselves, because ultimately, the most successful movements come from the bottom up. They don't get directed from the top. That's always how it works. So we're doing our best at the Broward Democratic to just engage people and train people and develop our infrastructure so that when we do have session next year and things are coming up, we have something in place to engage voters and get involved. So that's all I have for today. And with that,
good afternoon, everyone. My name is Willow Avenue. I'm the co-chair of the Green Party of Florida. I'm actually a newer Green. I was brought into the party largely by the Jill Stein campaign and her focus on the Green New Deal. As you pointed out, the latest report is that we have 12 years using my climate change or change permit. And I need to focus a little here on the doom and gloom before we move to the Green New Deal, so that you understand what we're dealing with here. Not only will we not have a place to live, because we all live on the coast that is already flooding, where I come from in Palm Beach County, Delray Beach is already facing saltwater aquifer twice a year. Sunny day flooding in Miami every single year. I actually want to show you guys a little picture here that I saved on my phone, because I hope it gives you the idea of how dangerous some of this is. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is a picture of a map. You see the ocean, you see a little pin there. That little pin is a nuclear power station on the coast in Miami. So when the waters start to rise, these are the kinds of things, these are the kinds of pitfalls we have all over the country. Not counting the fact that the Middle East may become uninhabitable, and we deal with suddenly these influxes of migration and rising fascism that may come with it in response to that. The world is going to change forever. We need to start fixing that now. And it's more just about preventing it. It's more than just preventing it. It's also about mitigating it. As Cynthia said, we need a wall or something like that if we want to be able to continue to live in this state. The Green New Deal has a goal of addressing that, but it also recognizes that this is really going to suck. And so a lot of people complain about the Green New Deal and say that it's a big grab bag of everything that any left would want. And there's a reason for that. Let's start with the original New Deal. The original New Deal was a lot like the resolution here, a campaign promise. It wasn't as specific as this was when FBI first started campaigning on it. And to some degree, I think that's the importance of the Green New Deal. It's a way to galvanize the electorate so that we can all come around and say, this is what we demand. And if, to go back to what Cynthia said, if you're not willing to work towards this, we're going to primary you as members of your own party, and then we're going to run against you in the general. Until you get the idea that it's cheaper and better for you to do what we need done than to not. There's a reason that you see things that may even approach on things like single-payer healthcare, even things like reparations. AOC speaks a lot in her version of the Green New Deal, which am very happy about. We will work on our Green New Deal on working with vulnerable communities, because if you remember, for example, how the highway program was built. The highway program was built by taking land from those vulnerable communities and just jamming the highway through them. If you want this societal transformation that's going to be necessary to prevent this runaway train that we're all on, everyone has to be on board. And we know there are going to be winners and losers, and the losers are going to want to turn against it and work with corporations. Their home from being taken because, there's no one's looking after their needs. It's going to fail. The Green New Deal, and we avoid talking about it, it's going to involve more sweeping changes than anyone's willing to put up front. I don't see a way of getting us off carbon fuel sources without nationalizing our energy sector. Without going to some of these companies and saying, you are no longer good stewards of these, these resources that we give you, with all the subsidies that we've given you over the years. So now we're going to take that back from you as the people, and we're going to run it. Perhaps when we're done, we'll give you back a better system than you had before. Yes, we'll take care of the shareholders and VP, et cetera, but I don't see how we can accomplish some of these things without some real live nationalization of some of the resources. We need to be doing home electric generation. And you think that Duke Energy and FTL are going to let us go around and start putting on solar panels on the government's dime to produce energy that you in your home can feel good that you're not adding the problem, and also producing decentralized energy that you don't need companies for? No. So it's important that the people be on board for this. It's important that you go and talk to your neighbors about the Green New Deal and why it is that it's important that your politicians support them. It's important that you, sitting right here, take the time to run for office. I ran for state rep last year, and it really opened my eyes to a way a lot of things work in our state, and I was more disgusted than ever by our last legislative session. Just by a show of hands, who here knows who their state senator is by name? All right, hands down. Who here knows who their state representative is by name? And this is part of our problem. How can we hold people accountable if you don't know their names? One of the most important things about the original Green New Deal is that it was federally funded and locally controlled. If we pass a Green New Deal, these people whose names you don't currently know are the ones who will be locally controlling it. And if we don't take those levels of power, we're going to see it go the same way that the Medicaid expansion went. Where just on ideology alone, the money's already spent, the second checks are signed, and ideology alone, our leaders will say, no, I just don't want to do it. You're attacking corporate bodies, and I'm not okay with that. So, we need to be talking about this right now, because if we are able to make this wave election happen, if we're able to take our government back for corporatists, this plan needs to be ready to go. We need to be on the ground running. It needs to be developed on the local level. You should be talking to your neighbors. You should show up at your county commission and talking to your state rep. They keep an office here somewhere near you. Go and talk to them, tell them that you need them to support this. Because incredible things come out of this. When we talk about nationalizing the energy sector, we did what was called the Rural Electrification Program during the original New Deal. We decided that the rural communities need electricity, and this is a good way to put people to work. And so we hired people to build an electric company that still exists today, the Tennessee Valley Authority, provides electricity for 4 states, owned completely by the federal government, returns billions of dollars of profit a year to coffers. Even Republicans will not attack the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is just socialism, no question about it. The government owns a power company, and it's so popular and so successful that not even Republicans talk about doing the Tennessee Valley Authority. We're going to have to take over the whole country because they did pass a law saying that they can't spend any more because they're doing such a good job that the private sector can't compete with you. There's a reason that AOC went out the fact that ExxonMobil is one of the first people to do this research, because that matters. We need to know that. We know as things get worse, either quickly because of climate change that's doing nothing, or to some degree negatively impacted because of the changes we have to make, that companies like ExxonMobil saw this coming and cared more about their short-term profits than about anything else. So the Green New Deal, as we, the Greens, see it, is actually part of the larger part of the Economic Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights includes a job guarantee and a basic income guarantee, both. Homes for all in vulnerable communities, National Health Service, and lifelong free education. These are the things that we think need to exist to support us creating and obtaining the talent to make the Green New Deal viable, education, things like that, as well as gaining the popular political will to make it politically viable. I got big into meandering. I'm sorry I didn't have prepared comments, but I hope that clears things up. And I will.
To all of you for your presentation. Just to clarify, I don't know if you were in jest or just making a metaphor, but you both mentioned building a wall around the state of Florida. Well, the geology of Florida is, according to Professor Harold Wanless from Miami-Dade College, and Professor Philip Stoddard there in South Miami, the geology of Florida is porous. The sea isn't going to come in off the coast, it's going to rise right up out of the ground. There's no way we can build a wall to protect ourselves.
If you see Dr. Gerardo's presentation about the predictions they're making about the sea level rise that's going to take place within the next 50 years in Broward County, and she shows these on maps, okay, and shows how much water is going to be here by 2070. She has a predictive model going on. And in that presentation, she discusses the issue of having some sort of seawall that would be required because the issue is, yes, the seawater is coming up through the sewer, right? It's coming up through underneath the infrastructure in places like Fort Lauderdale. Sometimes I've been downtown Fort Lauderdale and restaurants have to close down because the sewer was backing up because they hadn't put the money into the infrastructure. Honestly, we had a new mayor, Dean Trentalis, in the city of Fort Lauderdale because climate change was a huge issue in that local election. And another commissioner who had sat on that commission forever and done nothing, right, did not get elected mayor because of just the lack of accountability at the city level. But in Dr. Gerardo's presentation, she said it's a combined infrastructure problem. We don't have enough fresh water moving through the Everglades, recharging the aquifers into Broward County and Miami-Dade. The county commission just got some more water pushed through because the C12 canals, they're redirecting water through into Broward County. That fresh water flow creates a pressure system that keeps the seawater from pushing up from underneath. That's how that works. And then the seawall is to address really the problem of tidal issues, right? And disaster moments, right? When a hurricane comes, to prevent the entire county from being overwhelmed with water, if that makes sense. So for her, she sees this as a fundamental issue of if we're going to continue to live here, we have to take care of two separate issues: the water flow from the Everglades plus the potential for catastrophic flooding from a hurricane. And so that's what that wall is about, because there are communities in Hollywood that need it now, almost. So she's very clear about it. And we probably should have another forum and have her come and have her talk about it, because it's really interesting.
Yes, my name is Joe DeAngelis. I live across the street in Wingwood here. I'd like to ask you, what's your plan for the other drainage problem we have, the hydraulic? From Lake Okeechobee, the runoff is killing the fish, it's causing the green slime. Now, what would you intend to do about that? I know there's a plan to build reservoirs and buy the sugar cane land up so they won't be fertilizing it and have all this runoff. And anyway, people need to eat less sugar anyway. So, what do you intend to do about that besides, dig the reservoir and connect it to the rest of the runoff from like Okeechobee and other places?
Can I take that one?
Yes.
Yes.
The first step, and you're going to hear it coming from me a lot, is for us to decide that the Bronx Lake Okeechobee is more important than Sugar's private profits. We need to make it clear that we will not allow Big Sugar to destroy natural resources like this, and we will take 80 steps up to and including seizing their land to make sure that we can restore the Everglades. And the people need to wrap their heads around the idea that this is what it's going to take. These corporations are not going to roll over and just play nice because we decided to incrementally, turn the screws a little bit. If we had a Republican governor who's willing to understand how important environmental issues are that he made in the centerpiece of this campaign, then we need to continue to push that pressure up and say, look, we're going to need to change everything. We're going to need to change everything. We want our planet. We want to have a state. Just have this state exist again as a geographic piece of land on the map. We're going to need to change a lot of things, and that's going to mean causing some groups, some people a little bit of pain, and that is part of it.
I'd like to ask Cynthia what her solution would do, because if you seize the land, you have to pay for it.
The solution is very complicated. And the idea of just seizing the land, we have many challenges with that. And I think you have to go back to think about, and it may not be something that people are well aware of, and I urge people, and maybe we'll schedule more of these, to take, honestly, the sugar tour and actually go out there and talk with the people out there. There are a lot of good paying jobs out there in that part of the state. And there are a lot of people in the minority community, Hispanic community, Asian community, others who have built their lives around the sugarcane industry and agriculture that goes on out there. There are important union jobs out there. So we have challenges just with the labor unions alone trying to take on this issue. So I don't think it's not going to be solved easily here in the state of Florida. And so it's funny because I think I used to be one of those people that just let's radically do it. Let's go over in there and take the land. I've become more educated about it as time has gone on and realized that we do have to engage with these industries and have conversation. Ultimately, that as a party, that is the direction we need to go. It's not to say that we're going to give up our goal, or we're not going to fight for what we need to get the water flowing properly and have it be clean and have everything be recharged. But I think that we, just like when Hillary Clinton got in trouble with the coal miners in West Virginia, right? We can't just stand here and kind of dump on a group of people who take a lot of pride in what they're doing, and it's really important to them. And so that's our challenge, right? How do we recognize that pride and recognize that importance in their community and what it means for them, and still address the issue and move it forward in some way?
Thank you.
Does that help at all?
Yeah, I also wanted to say, my sister told me the West Coast, there's a lot of phosphate mining and stuff, and they're doing a lot of illegal dumping, and that has to be something they need. That's the only thing I want to say.
I'd like to, if I could, can we discuss
We have three questions.
So, I disagree with that to some degree. Now, first of all, when I said seize the land, I wanted to make it clear that this is a possibility. Using all methods up to and including. A lot of things that I've heard Cynthia say here don't really jive with my idea of the Green New Deal. I'm from Detroit, which is, car town. People don't work in those factories because they love making cars. People work in those factories because those are the good paying jobs that pay good money. So if we can go to those sugar workers and say, hey, we've got not only a job guarantee, we've also got a basic income guarantee. We'll also give you health care. We'll make your life better. But one thing you have to do is decide to work with the people rather than through a corporation. And decide that maybe your way of life will need to change voluntarily before this takes underwater and changes involuntarily. The Green New Deal is designed to address these particular concerns that Cynthia brought up, that people are going to have to change their way of life. And in the case people have to change where they live. Once again, people are going to move the state of Florida, one way or another. Whether you're passing a New Deal or not, there are places in Florida that we're just not going to live anymore. period. Either because they're uninhabitable, or because we recognize that we need to do things to make sure that our larger areas can be inhabitable. So, once again, the Green New Deal is a revolutionary plan, it's a radical plan, and it is, I believe, a radical solution is the only way to handle this radical problem. An incremental solution to a radical problem is not a sensible solution.
Very good. So we have three people in mind. Lady should go first, but since the gentleman was closer, go ahead, please.
Yes, good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank you for promoting the Green New Deal. It's a conversation that's long overdue. My name's Jeff. I'm with the Citizens Climate Lobby, and I have a three-part question. The first two are very quick. Can you share with the audience how many members of Congress signed on to the resolution for the Green New Deal? Approximately. 200, 300, somewhere in that ballpark?
I actually saw it on the website, but sometimes.
I don't know the problem.
Does anybody know how many members of Congress signed on to H.R. 9 to put us back in the Paris Climate Agreement? Okay, I know that's over 200. I don't know the exact. Does anybody know? 120 something for the Green New Deal and H.R. 9 to put us back in the Paris Climate. But I'm talking about members in Congress that are in power right now and signed on to H.R. 9 to put us back in the Paris Climate Agreement. I believe it's over 200. There's a bill in Congress right now, that would put a fee on carbon and return it. It's a refundable carbon fee. It's called the Energy Innovation Carbon Dividend Act. Is anybody familiar with that bill up here in our, it's your,
Not that particular one.
okay. The good and bad is it has 40 co-signers right now. This bill is what our previous president called shovel-ready. In other words, it can start reducing emissions as soon as it's passed. Okay? it's not a resolution, it's a bill. So my question, the big question is, what can we do to bring the other 200 supporters of the Green New Deal to take action on a bill that's ready to reduce climate change and right now?
Threaten their jobs.
Threaten their jobs.
You're here right now. You seem to be very well versed on the issues. Are you planning to challenge any of these people for office, or to support someone on the ground when that time comes?
Our group just had 1,300 members in Congress this last weekend, meeting with every member of Congress in the Senate to promote this action.
I would like to recommend that you and your group convince some of your members to stand against some of these people for office when the time comes,
I'm
and
asking
make
you
that now.
for the same thing, since you have a voice in the Green New Deal, to bring it up that there's a bill that's ready to go. You have asked for a request for proposal, am I wrong? The Green New Deal has asked for a request for proposals for how to bring their goals into fruition.
I think you may be thinking about the Green Party requesting a platform.
I read it in either the Times or, Bloomberg or the Hill, one of those articles that I read all the time. So this is a proposal. It's in action right now, and I am asking you all also, as well as we are actively promoting it.
Can you, for the camera and for our application, repeat the House bill number?
It's H.R. 763, the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. So it was written and sponsored by Ted Deutsch, our own Congressman Ted Deutsch, who wants to hear it and support the other bill you're
He hasn't
talking
signed
about.
on yet, but who knows, I think some of this is about also having these forums and gathering support.
And co-sponsored by a Republican, Francis Rooney. So this has bipartisan.
Very good. So we're going to look into it.
I
Right.
think,
Go ahead, Cindy.
just to sort of address the issue of specific legislation, I think that things like what we have with the Broward Democratic Party, our platform committee and our legislative committee, these are the places where we sit and consider those particular issues. I would have no doubt that if Congressman Deutsch is co-sponsoring this, that his colleagues will support it along with him. But yes, we have to do things that we can do now, right? We have this, depending on your, some competing, maybe some differences in some of the lists of what should be done. But we have to get people into power who can also do these incremental things that are ready to go. And I even have a specific example that I can give you, just to make people understand. When Barack Obama was in the White House, okay, the International Energy Security part of the National Security Council, okay, had some leadership there that understood exactly what this problem was. And we have to understand that we're facing also systemic challenges worldwide on this issue. And one of those was, in some parts of the world, governments are literally paying subsidies to keep gas prices low, artificially low, so that people with resources in third world countries can drive cars. This was happening all over the world. Essentially, third world governments, which had very limited resources, many of them, were actually spending money trying to encourage people to drive cars. Okay? It was fundamentally wrong for their countries, for their nations, because they had a lot of poor people who could never afford to buy a car. Okay? And people with enough money to buy a car and drive in these countries were having their gas subsidized. It's absolutely ludicrous. It goes back to the Paris Accord and all of these things. But it took a Democratic president with somebody knowledgeable enough in the National Security Council to sit there and go to meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting and talk to the government in Indonesia and India and all of these places and say, we cannot continue to do this. You are just contributing to the problem. If we're going to fight this issue, people have to pay for, right, what they're doing to pollute the environment. It's the only way to actually make it work. And I think we probably still have, with Donald Trump in the White House, we have this fundamental challenge that there are probably lots of things like what you're talking about that can be done, but we don't have leadership in the National Security Council or in any of these agencies right now to sit there and just make a fundamental ask or a policy change even, right, that would encourage more fuel efficiency, right? Just simple things like that could just start the ball rolling. So I'm glad you brought this up because it's important. We can talk to Congressman Deutsch and see what he would like us to do at the Broward Democratic Party further.
Before we go, I think the transfer was...
Yeah, no, so just on that last point, I guess a small counter narrative. So what comes to mind is Venezuela, right? Venezuela that largely subsidizes gas and oil. Makes it very cheap so Venezuelans can drive for cents on the dollar, right, in terms of gasoline. Now, I think for developing countries, that may be problematic. Because one of the things about the Paris Accord for a country like China and India is that they made the argument that, look, the West, you're fully industrialized. And when you industrialize, you are able to dump as much carbon and pollute the environment as much as possible freely without anyone being like, no, you can't do it. So China, India, and other countries that are trying to develop, by trying to move from agrarian to just industrial, have to go through, in a sense, this modernization, the exact same methods. Rapid industrialization, that means an increase in carbon production and usage. So they said to the West, it's unfair for you now, when you're already in that position, to say, we have to stop, right? We have to go to more efficient modes of, transportation. So this is why there was much pushback, for the United States private sector and also developing countries, is because it was, for them, it was unfair, because you already, were able to use colonization, right, to extract much wealth, and now you're stopping, you're kind of closing the door behind you. So this is why globally, on that global scale, right, you will get some pushback from developing countries that feel like, yes, we need to subsidize or citizens, because how else are we going to catch up? And if we do have to build this carbon neutral infrastructure, that is going to be exponentially
more expensive, given that we're trying to jump from agrarian, right, all the way to this high-tech, right, it's carbon-free and it's very difficult. So just to push back a little bit on
I'd like to.
I think we obviously have to lead the way, I know that.
Hi, my name is Mary Mitchell. First of all, I really want to congratulate you. It was really nice to see the Democratic Party, the Green Party, and Academic sitting together at the table. These are second, I would just like to say that, you know, I too have worked internationally a lot, and the U.S. government has spent a lot of money on alternative livelihoods, programs and projects to get cocoa farmers in Afghanistan, Colombia, and places like that, looking at alternative ways of making money. I don't know why you can't do that with our sugar industry and our hydrocarbons industries and perhaps real estate. Right? But anyway, I'm going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate here, but you know, I was at Lidl last weekend and I had my ticket waiting for me for the gala, and when I saw that the sponsors were Big Sugar, I decided not to go because I'm with the Environmental Caucus and I just felt like that would be hypocritical on my part. And we need to be working with our sugar industry, absolutely, but I think that we also need to be thinking about our optics as the Democratic Party and what do we stand for, right? And what side are we on? And anyway, I'm sorry, I know this puts you on the spot, Cynthia, but I think...
Well, I was there, so I know.
Yes.
I may have even had a drink in the Florida Crystals, you know, hospitality, whatever thing they were doing. When I say that, that is our challenge. They are part of our party. They are there with us. And the Machinists Union, like they are a union that represents a lot of those workers. And they are a very powerful force in Florida and have a lot of resources. And they've been friends to us here in Broward, right, writing checks and helping us do our work. So yes, we have these challenges. That's why I think engaging with them is better than not right now at this point. And I think also, just to bring people back, Congressman Hastings signed off on this, okay? He represents that part of the state. So, and I know that he talks with these people, you know, Florida Crystals gives to him, I'm sure. Machinists give to him, I'm sure. And so we probably should be engaging with him and seeing how he sees how this moves forward for that community, right? Because I think he understands it better than anyone else, right? The challenges that they face out there. So I would defer to him and his staff, I think, to some degree. And I understand, yes, people were upset this weekend, and it's hard for us, right? We are in the minority. We really are struggling to raise the money to compete with the Republican Party.
I disagree. Congressman Hastings has been in office for decades and has not addressed the problem at all. This idea that we were expecting to suddenly turn around and wake up while taking money from the same people that are causing the problem is naive. I'm sorry.
I have several issues here. First off, the bill that you're talking about, that George put forward, he calls the Noah's bill, based on Noah's Ark, where they've got two by two, one Republican, one Democrat, to be able to sign on to this bill.
It's a Congress.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that this bill is a poor bill, as far as I'm concerned, because it takes us off fossil fuels in 2050. That's too long. What we need to do is support Chelsea Gabbard's bill, which pushes off fossil fuels by 2030. 2050, we're all going to be dead. We don't have time for that. In 30 years, South Florida is going to be flooded up to Lake Oak Shores. So unless we start doing something now, we have 12 years to act, and that's what the Sunrise Movement is. We have 12 years to act. Part of the Sunrise Movement is basically talking about what's going on with our indigenous people, with our local communities that are poor and black, Hispanic, brown people community. The sugar cane is being burnt. When they burn it, when the wind is blowing towards these people's homes, there's health issues that they're talking about, which Medicare for All could come and play for that, which is why we're talking about healthcare for all, because a lot of the problems that happens with the solar, the nuclear energy happens in poor neighborhoods. There's a whole stretch of land off of 31st Avenue that they have to block off because the people were dumping nuclear waste. That was in a poor minority neighborhood. This goes on all over the country where they're the worst areas that happen. We put a pipeline on indigenous people's land where it's leaking into their water. We have a pipeline in northern Florida that's built on coral rock. That's a porous thing. There were several leaks along that pipeline going into our drinking water, and water is life. And if we're not going to protect it now, we're done. We're done as a species. We need to do something now. As far as the seawall goes, I spoke to our county commissioners a long time ago and told them what they need to do is replant all the sea grape trees that they took away from them to build these condos. I had a conversation with the mayor of Fort Lauderdale, who rolled his eyes when we talked about the Green New Deal, and I asked him, how's your infrastructure and a sewer system that's backing up on the streets? Yes, so.
And so, I want to answer that because that goes back to, I want to bring this back to the Green New Deal. This is not just about an expression about environmentalism, it's about the Green New Deal. She spoke about Barack Obama and his experiences when he first came into office. And now let's hear Barack Obama embrace her one FDR. FDR is based on the New Deal. FDR ran on this, and it wasn't like he had shovel-ready projects ready to go. The New Deal came out in 3 phases as he used the enthusiasm that was driven up in the public by his New Deal to gain political power, and then, through that, say, I'm going to force you now to do what you don't want to do. The policy is what drove him into office, not the personality. So what's most important is that we focus laser sharp on the fact that we want this rapid change, and that we're going to make sure that if you don't support it, you don't have a job. We get someone, hopefully as a president, who will support it, and we use this rather than saying we need to get together to get people elected to have the Green New Deal. No, we need to develop the Green New Deal to get people elected. These are the conversations we need to be having. And Congress is not going to have these conversations. We need, as I said, a nationally funded, locally controlled program where you can have these conversations that you're having right now with your knowledge about secrets and things like that with your county commissioner, and he has a line to whoever it is that deals with the state of Florida on Capitol Hill and the Green New Deal. But the idea that we need to put the election before the Green New Deal, that's not how the Green New Deal works. That's not how the got elected 4 times.
I'm a pragmatist and a realist, and I like to deal with fundamental truths and facts. Let us take the cost of 1 gallon of gasoline locally. I'm under the impression, researched it thoroughly, that the oil companies currently, as of right now, are getting 12 to 18 cents profit on each gallon of fuel. I'm also on the impression that the governments, whether it's city, county, state, and federal, are getting 68 to 74 cents on every gallon of fuel. My question is, who is actually making the big megabucks on our fuel situation? It appears to me, in taxes, it's the government. And I noticed something which is not publicly known, which is every time the fuel prices come down, 8, 10, 15, 18 cents, they immediately shoot back up. So I said, why are they going back up? There's a glut of oil all over the world from my research. And the fact is, the government has put in immediate increases in taxes, city, county, state, and federal. So my my diagnosis is, if there's a ripoff, it's a ripoff on the part of the government taxing us to death. If that money was kept in our pockets, or a percentage of it, there'd be disposable income. I could buy better food, better clothes, better shoes for my kids. I'm disturbed by the corporations always being blamed. When I check these situations, it's the government that is making a fortune compared to the private sector. I'd like to understand how you feel about that.
How many roads has Exxon built with the money they got for gasoline?
I beg your pardon?
How many roads has Exxon built or maintained with the money they got for gasoline?
They're not required to build roads.
No, the state, local, federal
Why
governments are. That's what
are
gas and
we
taxes go to.
enslaved by taxes that keep me from, I have to go buy 49-cent chicken. I can't shop in Publix where the same chicken is $3 and change.
I
Why
understand.
can't I have my money?
I think the solution, a better solution would be that we have a living wage job guaranteed by the federal government as well as we want to get into a discussion about public banking and reclaiming our own money, our own resources for our own personal use rather than using subsidies, because as much as they may only make 12 cents per gallon, they get huge subsidies from the federal government as do a lot of other corporations. This is actually a detail that we discussed here in our Green New Deal, in that one of the ways that we want to drive bank these things is through public banking, by taking the power of the banking system and using it on the local, state, and federal level, and driving those profits that normally go to the banking sector through gambling and things like that back into our infrastructure.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Rosen. I'm a student here at Broward College. First of all, I want to say thank you to Mr. Stork for organizing all this, and Aaron Young and our group panelists who are obviously very intellectual. May not agree on everything, as we can clearly see, but we come here, decorum is outstanding, and we're coming here to debate actual ideas. I'm here for not a very long amount of time because I have things to do, but of course I didn't want to miss this. So, you said something earlier in your preamble of sorts. I don't want to butcher this, Mr. Padano. Okay. You mentioned an earlier organization that was subsidized by the government that was supposedly performing better than the private sector. Might I clarify which one it was specifically?
Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA.
One more thing before I pass it off to someone else. I've read the 14 pages of the Green New Deal provided by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and it speaks a lot, specifically in the $500 million that we'll be reinvesting into guarantees of different buildings, restructuring buildings, guarantees of jobs, etc. However, I didn't really see anything specific that the government would have to enforce upon the people, or the people enforce on the government mutually, that would have these assurances, that would have these assurances of jobs, that would have these assurances of wages, and that would make sure that the economy itself didn't tank, or the environment itself wouldn't collapse before we could establish these correctly. So, to summarize briefly what I just said, how would we go about ensuring all of these things that the 14 pages that the Green New Deal is supposedly promising to us is supposed to be established at all?
If you ever wonder what we do at our college, here it is.
Just quickly. So remember, it's a resolution, and I think they're currently at work in actually formulating an actual proposal, right? They have to go through, right, that process. So it has not been fleshed out as yet. That's a short answer.
Thank you.
We don't know.
And I'd like to push forward that, and then once again, I'll go back to the New Deal. This New Deal passed in 3 sets of packages that were different sets of omnibus legislation. The idea here is that we set out the goals, use that to create the public will and the political power, and then get the experts together in the room to decide how we're going to do this. And as time moves forward, as we make these investments, we're going to discover new technologies, so when we get new spacers and things like that, that may change facts on the ground. So it's a matter of initiative, right? Those things like what's your responsibility, things like that. But it's not going to be one bill that passes. It's going to be the New Deal was a change in how we relate to government. Before the New Deal, if you got your arm ripped off in a thresher accident, it would never occur to you that the government would do anything to help you, not be a beggar on the streets. And after the New Deal, we decided that we had a contract with the government to kind of look out for that. So now this Green New Deal, the idea is we're going to set a contract with the government that we are going to fix this problem. And we work out the details to go along with it.
There is a constitutional amendment that's going to hopefully be on the ballot next year that would establish a minimum wage over time, incrementally, of a minimum of $15 an hour. So,
For the state of Florida?
For us here?
in the state of Florida, yes, they're currently actively seeking petitions right now. So I think it goes to the heart of what you're saying, is that it's going to take multiple different government operations in order to fully flesh out how this is going to work.
And I guess the final point is if you think about, AOC, right? It's an activist. And you have an activist go to Washington. And Washington is not a place for activists, right? Washington is, whether it's Democrat or Republican, it's a conservative institution. That's Supreme Court, conservative. So it's about the status quo. So what you're gonna, and I think what would happen is this moderating effect on AOC. What you're gonna notice is, you go there with all the hopefulness, but once you get into that machine, you understand that, listen, 99% of bills die in just committee.
Mexico, no pay.
Right? So it's a process where, but I guess the larger point is that the activists now have a voice, right? And is actually changing that conversation, which will catapult, right, action. But, right, so I guess we can be a little bit patient to see how it works out, but right, the Green Deal is a start.
And she did it in one day. I mean, there was one day she drove at Feinstein's office.
Yes,
the next day, there were polls out. We've been pushing the Green Deal since 2010.
Yes.
With no traction in one day, suddenly it was pulling 80%. So, I mean, I got to give her credit for that, and I'd show her that that's what you can do when you put activists in office.
What can we do to get this room, where we really have to take the stadium to fill it, which is what we need to do. How can we get all the people, the ground movement, from the ground up, that's how we get all this done. What are we going to do? How are we going to do that?
Is that a question?
Yes.
For me?
For anybody.
Well,
anybody.
So,
I have my thoughts.
I think there is a unique opportunity. You've had in the last year the Democratic Socialists of America. It's a more vibrant, younger group of activists, which are helping to pull the Democratic Party a little bit more to the left. You have to seize upon that new energy. Because here's the thing about the Democratic Party, right? In Europe, it's really a center-right party, right, in their policies. It has shifted to the right for the past 30 years or so. What you have now are like the Greens and the DSA pulling the party back towards the left. So you have to seize upon that energy from this new group, right? Democratic socialists, socialists, right? You have to seize upon that energy and embrace it and use it, right, to catapult people in office like AOC, that's going to, move for a party which is not so centered or so moderate. So that's maybe a part of the answer.
Okay, I'm going to use my kind of speaking power to ask Cynthia one question, which kind of lingers in the back of my mind, and maybe it's not fair, I'm putting you on spot. But what is the problem with the Democratic Party? Why there is a hesitation to embrace these things? Every day you hear the news like they put in a new block on like candidates cannot talk about it, this and that. What's the problem? Where is the problem? As far as you can see, from that so-called establishment to embrace these things.
It's money and politics. Yours very simple.
I just don't understand that.
It's not just money, and both of these questions go together. Tiffany's question and yours, they're literally a side-by-side issue. For those people who know me well, I am not considered to be one of the most politic people in the Florida Democratic Party. I am considered to be fairly independent. And I do not like to just go with the flow and do a program for my party that I don't think is going to be robust and actually really speaks to people where they're at and engages them properly. So that's a significant challenge. We've had historic problems in the state of Florida with lack of investment into the party structure and into the organizing capability of the party. And when the party is weak and when the party can't organize independently, and is not developing activism within itself and allowing people who want to be disruptors to come in and be part of the process, right, and have conversation. Mitchell and I don't agree very often, all the time. I'm sorry, we agree on a lot of things, but we get in battles, but we always respect each other and we know where each one of us is coming from. My role as chair is I have to be the person who stands up there and tries to keep the conversation going and allow it to happen without it becoming so overwhelming that we can't function as a party when we need to. This can be incredibly challenging. the Tim Canova, Debbie Washington Schultz primary, that first one was really awful, okay? Really difficult. And I, just to make everybody aware, grew up in Vermont and voted for Bernie Sanders many times over, and it was not popular that I liked him as a presidential candidate. So our challenge has to be, from your what we do question to her how do we fill this room question, is that we have to fundamentally rethink what these organizations structurally are doing 365 days a year. This will require long-term infrastructure building, training programs, development of activists, empowerment of activists as a result, and the creation of essentially a fully functioning independent organization that can make a decision to mobilize and then have the ability to actually get people to show up in this room. And that requires training and development, and we haven't had that for
So
8
you don't have a
years.
sense of urgency, okay, but because
I have a sense of urgency, but I may be the only person in the country right now who's actually talking about it in this way. That has been the comment that I have received from people outside the state. I'm a Democratic National Committee woman, and I don't hear this conversation happening. And no one is sitting there thinking about how to create organization trainings. There's lots of candidate trainings, right? There's lots of individual trainings, like this is how you run a phone bank. Who's out there teaching leaders how to build an organization? And there's 67 different organizations in the state of Florida with a leader standing there at the top of them in their counties, and nobody's trained that person in how to be a better chair, right? That's the fundamental problem.
I disagree with that. I think that the problem is that the Democratic Party is trying to become a fundraising organization. If you go and look at the Green Party of Florida and look at our charter that's on file with the Department of State, it says that we support 10 key values and we exist to promote the 10 key values in our government and non-government structures. If you go and look at the Democratic Party's purpose for existing, the purpose for existing is to support those who claim themselves to be Democrats. Period. That's their purpose statement. We support and promote Democrats. Period. There's a reason that when Jill Stein ran in 2012, not 2016, Democrats ridiculed her and called her coup. Though now they're running on her platform of the Green New Deal and any student debt and Medicare for all issues before Bernie. It's because it's more important to the party apparatus, not the individuals. With a lot of Democrats who are all about the right things. It's more important to the party apparatus to keep power by any means necessary than to use the power in the proper way, which would actually, we believe, gain them more power. We, as Greens, wish we were sweeping elections across the country. But we're ecstatic to see that all the front-running Democrats are running on our platform from 8 years ago. And that would be just fine with us for now, if things like the Green New Deal get implemented. And I think that's the problem with the Democrats, is the policy is not the point, the power is the point. Because there's so many people in there who made their careers off of making money for the Democratic Party. Nobody in the state of Florida is paid to be a member of the Florida Green Party. No, none of us are making money. We're all about your party, and that's why we can be true to our beliefs.
My name is Lynn Smith, and I actually drove down from Palm Beach County, and I want to appreciate you folks for coming and informing here in Broward. I know Broward College was one of the first USGBC league buildings built in the area, and I know Broward College is continuing this legacy. They did drive around the roof on the station here. I do have what was discussed by some other people, the constitutional amendment for Medicaid expansion. This is to fill the gap for low-income workers. So I'm going to leave that here for anyone who is a registered Florida voter to sign the petition, and I will turn those in. I appreciate the gentleman that discussed the CCL, the Citizens Climate Lobby, so I don't have to speak to that. I do have a suggestion that something hasn't been discussed in this forum is population reduction / stabilization, because I think a lot of our problems in the world would go away if they were just fewer people. Now that's probably above and beyond the scope here. As far as the question of the what will fill the room question to get everyone here, I have been asking this question, and I don't know if anyone here knows the answer. Where is the lowest elevation 495 because that is where the Publix trucks will stop. Does anyone know where that is, and can we publish that? Maybe the lowest, the second lowest, and the third lowest, because I'm thinking we will be moving up. Sorry, Cindy, but I don't think we have the time to reduce our carbon footprint, and I think the money spent on the infrastructure that you're talking about for Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade would be better spent somewhere else. The people in Kansas don't care if Florida goes underwater. This is a global problem, not just a local problem. And I think that just about does it.
Very good. So,
I think, so, I'm sitting here, we should have been in the middle. Right now. Because what we do have on display is this dynamic. So we have a party which some have said will become an empty vessel. And, part of it is right, the Democratic Party was normally a party of the working class. Unions, right, back the Democratic Party fully. But through the deindustrialization process, right, we're talking about, Ohio and Michigan, right, you've had a concerted effort to crush these unions. So the Democratic Party is kind of faced with, okay, we don't have that support base anymore. So where are we going to get the funding from, right, to fund our party? So they'll increasingly edge towards, right, special interests and, corporate backing and away from the workers. And this is why I think it is so problematic and so symptomatic that Donald Trump was able to win the presidency based on being the champion of the working class American. So that is like the low point of the Democratic Party. And what you have, is I think Mersad brings up, trying to start problems, is that right, you do have now this grassroots, right, of young, energetic reformers that are there, right, and they're joining the Democratic Socialists, they're joining the Green Party, and the Democratic Party can do two things. It can continue a status quo, or, right, based on our two-party system, when it takes all, what normally happens is you absorb some of the left into your paradigm. But the problem is, right, we had the Tea Party on the right, which the Republicans supported it for some time until it got out of control. And the Tea Party pulled the Republican Party away from John McCain, these centrists, right, to the right. And then we have Trump as the final, right, the culmination of all that. And I think there is some fear within the Democratic Party, is that if you do have these activists on the left part of the party, that you may get somebody in power who, right, is a little bit too radical, too revolutionary. And the Democratic Party is stuck between that, right, modernizing itself and also maintaining this notion, this semblance of being a centrist, center-left party. So I think this is really a soul check. And for me, as a political scientist, I kind of like chaos. So I think going into the next election, there's a chance that Donald Trump wins again. And is that going to be, right, the low point for the Democratic Party, to where it really takes these steps, right, to fully internalize the norms of the Green Party and Democratic Socialists? I don't think it has lost enough as yet. I think the midterm elections was a good sign, but I think it covered up because much of it was anti-Trump. It didn't really allow space for like actual policy. I feel like a lot of votes because people were just mad at Trump. But you need actual policy. And I think the activists are pushing this policy. Now, it may not work out right. It may be, short-sighted, it's a 10-year plan. But it's something which is shaking up our political system. Because, we have a crisis of democracy around the world. And I think, he studies nationalism. And that can be very dangerous. So we're at a pivotal time in our democratic institutions. And I think this conversation that we're having is important for the soul, not just of the Democratic Party, but of the soul for Western democracy. And I think the New Deal is going to go far in determining the substantive outcome of that battle. So let's fight.
I'll go next, let me do the last word because she's been getting a lot of heat here. So, climate change is here. It's not on the horizon, it's here, and it's going to hit us and it's hard. The Green New Deal, I'm sorry? An emergency, that's fine. The Green New Deal provides a framework by which we can address this head on. It includes some things that people think should not necessarily be included as incentives, and I do want to point out that these are things that, while many of us consider to be a radical plan, are not radical at all. Medicare for all, 60-some-odd%. Free college education, 67%. I don't know if we've done a poll on the right to affordable housing or the right to a job and living wage, but I'm sure they poll very, very well. The Green New Deal itself polls at 80%. So when people tell you that these ideas that you hear from the left wing of the Democratic Party or from the center of the Green Party are radical or left wing, they're talking about for members of Congress, sitting members of Congress, who are all millionaires. When you go to the average American person, even though they may call themselves a conservative, they may not know what these political terms mean. You run the policy by them one by one, there's support for them. There's a reason that the Green Party just got second place in the European elections, and yes, it's the same Green Party. There's a reason that the Green Party may be on the verge of taking over Germany because they're polling better than Angela Merkel. We in America are kind of in the backwaters of political leftism, and it's going to cost us because China's investing in green energy, and they're using it to make allies around the world, to gain resources that they need, and to share that technology out. We talk about convincing other nations in the world to forego the same path of economic development that we took. Well, if we can develop those technologies and provide them to them as reparations to say, well, we colonized you, we stretched your resources, and we did wars all over your country to kind of make up for you. Here's what technology we developed to help you industrialize without destroying your ecosystem. Here you go, world. It can do a lot to increase our standing in the world. These solutions, these crazy radical solutions, they work. They got FDR elected 4 times in a row. They're not just good policy, they're good politics. And I think that us recognizing that, and recognizing that the Western middle is not going to win us any votes, is very important.
So I would say it's hard to summarize sort of where I'm at on these issues. I am by my upbringing in Vermont, extremely aware of how important a bold vision can be with the right candidate at the right time, right? The state I grew up in was Republican. And this Democratic socialist named Bernie Sanders was running statewide over and over and over again, not getting any support. And then one day, he stood in his hometown of Burlington, Vermont, and he looked around and he said, you know what, maybe I should just be battling for this north end of Burlington and run for mayor and break this Democratic Party stronghold wide open. And he built a coalition of Republicans, and he got himself elected by some minuscule amount of votes, and then once he was in office, he went for it, right? And I think AOC is somebody who's running in that tradition, right? Very much, right? And what Bernie did in Vermont was bring a fresh look at what the Democratic Party itself wasn't doing in the state of Vermont. And now it's become this state that's a model on so many levels. So I would never, ever say that the Democratic Party shouldn't welcome Democratic Socialists. That would never be something that I would ever argue as a party chair. I think what I was talking about being organizing is to just actually build a welcoming and functioning organization that can allow these conversations to happen and help these candidates who want to be part of us and want to get this done to become candidates for us and to build that infrastructure for them. because I think it's possible, and there's places in the state where people can get elected locally and to start this conversation going. That is also part of what has to happen. AOC can be the person in Washington and Ed Markey and all those people up there who are like getting people to sign on, but then we've got to find people down here on the ground to get elected to local office and to sit on city councils and town councils, and all of these places to look at local business right in the face and say, we can do this better and we can make money and people can live well and we can have a community that's sustaining ourselves and that we're taking care of each other. This is going to be a long fight. And yes, we need people, we need candidates, we need bold vision to help people, propel people, right, to get involved. And, you know, and it can happen in any number of ways, right? This issue is going to embolden people to run all over the country, I think. And as other things happen in Florida, like the gun issue, for example, right? There are lots of different things. So my idea is really just making sure that my party is sitting here trying its best to be welcoming and helping people like Mitchell and Tiffany and folks who are working on this, hopefully find more people to join them and get involved and get behind candidates. So thank you.
Very good. We as our college will be happy to facilitate this type of conversation. I hope you also enjoyed it. I mean, I liked it very much. Right? And some people are always like very surprised. They say, how did you get it done? But that proves that she is open to hear all these different voices. The boy is amazing. We already know he is making a difference up there in Central Florida. And Dr. Ransford is justifying his public education. He's through, you know, what we call it a public intellectual. Always willing and ready to be engaged by us, and we thank him and his department for letting him come and join us. We promise you, meaning we, Department of the area of social sciences and human sciences from the Broward College North, that during the fall and the spring, when the run-up into the real election, or big battle of 2020, we promise you that we'll do more events like this. And we hope that you come and join us. And we hope also that we can have this panel, you know, come to us again, maybe sometimes in November or October, right, so that we can repeat this conversation. And thank you all for coming. We do have some small snacks and water. It's in the plastic bottle, so we have to get to the... But please have that before you leave. Thank you. Thank you.